Hi, everybody. This is Missy Wauneka, Executive Director of Teach for America, New Mexico. I am here with Andy Nez, who was recently elected as a Navajo Nation Council delegate. And I'm very excited to be with him here today to share a little bit about why he ran for the role, and now that he's in it, what some of his priorities are, and just learn a little bit more about him as a person.
Great. Thank you, Missy, and to the Teach for America organization. My name is Andy Nez. I am of the Dene Nation. I am Weaver Clan, born for the Bitterwater people. My maternal grandfathers are the Red Running into the Water people. My paternal grandfathers are the Red Bottom Cheat people. And I currently reside just north of Fort Defiance, Arizona, but physically in the state of New Mexico. I am a delegate recently elected to the Navajo Nation Council of the 25th and representing the chapters of Fort Defiance, Sawmill, Crystal, and Red Lake. And the unique thing about this, I always tell people, is there's 4 chapters, 3 counties, 2 states, but 1 goal. And that's why I'm here to work with our communities through KEF and to see what can become of this term.
Absolutely. That is a lot of responsibility, but I'm excited to hear more about what made you want to run for this position and like kind of what experiences led up to that.
I always tell people, meaning that I was raised and I grew up alongside my grandmother's skirt. She would take me to many ceremonies, and that's where I was able to pick up the language, but also how I developed a deep affirmation for our culture. And just watching her feed people, working tirelessly from sunrise to sunset, counseling them, advising them, laughing with them, cooking for them, just like the endless things she did. And, at the time in history, a lot of that was for the sake of our hearts, for the sake of community. And I grew a really deep passion for community. And community is such a broad term, and it can be interpreted many different ways. But for me, just a classroom is a community, a school is a community like Navajo is a community. You also have like our LGBTQ plus relatives, that's a community. For me, it's so as long as you have more than one individual, then that embodies, things that can happen monumentally. With the Teach for America organization back in 2014 as an alum to the New Mexico Corps, I was teaching at Cheetah Elementary and teaching kindergarten through 5th grade, the language and culture. Best times of my life. It's funny because I have social media on Facebook and it'll give you memories about what you posted. And it's such a fun reminder. And students will always be at my core. I enjoy education. I enjoy students. I enjoy just the whole environment of schooling. For me, I don't see it as just being in institutions within 4 walls. There's many different ways that I grew up to understand what education means. And that's an additional platform that I have in this role, but even prior. So fast forward to the day that I decided to run for Navajo Nation Council. It was me reflecting on those experiences. I asked myself, what can you do differently? What can you contribute? I talked to my mom. She was the first one I talked to about it. And of course, I talked to my family. I talked to some mentors, some former delegates, and those that were also on the 24th Navajo Nation Council. A few days later, did my paperwork, and I submitted it. And then thereafter, we started planning. When the final submissions were released, there was 5 of us running for this position, and 4 of us were from one community, which is the largest in Fort Defiance. So in essence, we kind of split equally those 4 the votes 4 ways. So we strategized, we thought about, we discussed different ways of getting out to the community. And just through my past work and stuff, so I was able to also build some good rapport with some folks, so they were able to help us. And it was really fun. I had a good time campaigning.
That is just really like exciting, and I'm wondering now that you're in the role, like what is your day-to-day like? What is the role of a delegate entail?
So it's pretty busy, and I'm learning to really manage my time, to manage my energy, because you're making, decisions for people. You're also working with people, hearing them and hearing those concerns. So it's a lot. But I always tell people my exhaustion, if it's somebody else's benefit, perfect. I've done my job. I try to stay visible and present at our chapters. I work out of there just so that you have community members who come in and who ask to see the delegate, or they ask about their schedule, things like that. So I do have a legislative district assistant, serves as my assistant basically. And she's the same thing. Her name is Amber Benali. She's from Blue Canyon. And we kind of just work our schedules to where we're mobilizing ourselves. And we have by law schedules of our meetings with the Navajo Nation Council, with what is referred to as the Napikeyat Committee, which really basically is you're speaking over topics. That's the translation there. But I took an oath, a personal oath with myself, to maintain a good relationship with our chapters. So regular chapter meetings, planning meetings, veteran organization meetings, community land use planning committees, which are also Club C meetings. Like, I also make that as an effort on mine to be there. And the Navajo Nation lifted its mask mandate and some of the social distancing after nearly 3 years. So it's kind of nice that I'm able to attend these in person. And I prefer in person. It gives you an opportunity for folks to come face to face, one-on-one, to share information with you. I also make time to do community events. So I'll stop off at like a basketball game, or I'll stop off at a bazaar. I helped unload hay in Sawmill the other week. So just if I have, a couple hours and I'm just driving through, or I'll have time to drive up to one of our communities, I'll make that effort and just be there with the community.
I'm sure that's greatly appreciated. In all of those different meetings that you had during the campaign and since you've been in the role, like, what are some of the things that you heard over and over again? What are some of the things that rose to the top that you made your priorities?
It's really back down to the basic needs of our people: water, road infrastructure, electricity, and having some sort of economic front in our communities. Because some people, they say, I'm waiting 5 years for electricity, or I'm waiting on this home site, or, and in my mind, I'm like, so how come nobody's checking up on it for you on your behalf? And I'm more than happy to do that if, when they share those things with me. But also as a legislator, that's my job, right? As a lawmaker, is how do we make this also less strenuous for our families? How do we cut some unnecessary red tape so that people don't have to wait so long to get electricity? And that just goes back to our codes. And on the Navajo Nation, there are 26 codes. I've heard a lot of stories about, we used to have this, we used to, and I wasn't old enough to really like remember it, which is the funny part sometimes too, because they were like, do you remember Royal Burgers? And I'm like, I don't remember. I'm sorry, I'm not old enough to remember Royal Burgers. And same with Chris Red Lake too. It's like, do you remember the swimming pool they had at the rec center? And I'm like, sorry, I don't remember. That's the funny part about being in this. I'm one of the youngest on our 25th Navajo Nation Council, but being in this position now to help further some of those conversations and those actions that are needed. For me, it's humbling, and it's something that I've committed myself to. And I always told my communities, let's see what our communities can become.
Well, it's very clear to me that you really enjoy your job and that you find a lot of ways to have fun while doing it. But I'm also wondering if there are things that you do outside of work, just as hobbies, or to have fun, or to keep yourself, high energy and keep going.
It's like a rubber band. You can pull it, expend it. If you keep going, it's going to break on you. But if you slowly let it go, it's going to come back into its natural state. Then pull it again. It's okay. Go out, work hard, do what you said you're going to do, involve people, be out there in the community, but always remind yourself that there's a person. You're a person. You're just like anybody else. You may be a delegate, you may have a doctorate degree, but you're just as everybody else. You need to remember that. So for me, what I've been adopting lately is spending time with family, and then coffee dates with friends. I'll do that too. And then I'll spend time with my mom. Like she lives just right up walking distance from me. So I'll go up there too, and we'll just kind of vent and, I don't know, drink hot tea and, I don't know, eat food. but that's keeping me sane. It's keeping me grounded.
I want to thank you so much for all that you shared and just letting us spend some time with you, or letting me spend some time with you today and get to know you and hear how it was like campaigning, kind of what your aspirations are for the role and what your aspirations are for yourself more broadly to kind of stay healthy in the role. I just appreciate it so much. It was really fun.
Thank you for having me, and, you know, just being able to talk about it again. So it's been really fun. Thank you.